carry forward. I remember I started relating to Dr. Leslie Samuel, who became a close father to me. When Papa Idahosa passed, God gave me opportunity to relate to some few people, Dr. Samuel and Morris Rello. And one day we were at Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oral Roberts was supposed to speak at ICFM. I was a member of ICFM by then. Jerry Savelle got me in there, so we had the Copelands, the Savells, and Happy Colworth, and so many of them. What's the name of that funny preacher? Jesse Duplantis. Jesse them all were there with Rod Parsley then. Very powerful program at the Hilton at Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Oral Robert was the speaker for that night. Then he missed his flight. He couldn't make it. So they announced that Oral missed his flight, so he's not coming. So he couldn't make it. So Dr. Samuel then was asked to speak. So Dr. Samuel was speaking, and it was a very powerful service. And he got to a point and he stopped and he said something very, very powerful, but it bothered me. And I didn't understand at that time what was going on. And it was about Jimmy Swaggart. At that time, Jimmy Swaggart was huge and big than Dr. Samuel and anybody. He was huge, filling stadiums, literally commanded properties. I mean, he was huge. And he said it was his sister that brought Jimmy Swaggart to the Lord. And Jimmy Swaggart had made a statement, I believe, against Oral Roberts. He made a certain statement he shouldn't have made. And he said that Jimmy Swaggart is going to go down. At that time, he hadn't gone down. He was huge. So I turned to the young guy sitting next to me, one of my sons. I took him to America. And I said, it looks like Swaggart is finished. He said, what do you mean? He said, but Swaggart doesn't submit to Dr. Samuel. And I said, do you know who Samuel is? I said, Samuel is a principality in the kingdom. I said, he's a 5-star general in the kingdom. And these kind of people, when they speak against you, unless you go to someone higher than them to override it to impact your life. You know, when you look at Genesis 49, when Jacob was blessing his children, he disinherited Reuben, his firstborn. And if you put it on the screen, very interesting scripture. And he said, Reuben, you are my firstborn. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, the beginning of my strength, the excellency
of dignity,
the excellency of power. And he said, unstable as water is, thou shalt not excel. You will not excel. He said, you are my firstborn. You are my might. You have strength. You have dignity. You have excellence. All these things are privileges you have. And being the firstborn gives you the blessing of the firstborn. You have it. Being a son also gives you a blessing. You have a double portion. But he said, unstable as water is, you will not excel. He disinherited and took the double portion of Reuben and gave it to Ephraim and Manasseh. Now, if you look at the scriptures carefully, when Moses was blessing the children of Israel, he could bless everybody. When he got to Reuben, he couldn't bless Reuben. He couldn't touch it. He had to make atonement. Because you see, Moses was a son of Jacob. When he met God at the burning bush, and he said, who are you? Then the Lord said, I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Moses was a lower spiritual ranking officer in the kingdom compared to Jacob. So So he couldn't override the pronouncement of Jacob over Reuben. All he could do was to make atonement and to plead, and said, let not Reuben die, and let not his men be few. So I turned to the young man and I said, Jimmy Swagger, then he has to go and find Oral or Papa Higgins, some of these old guys. And the guy didn't get it. It wasn't long. It was not long. And Jimmy Swagger's first crisis began. May he rest in peace. Good guy. Then a year or two after, Dr. Samuel was in Ghana, and we were riding, myself and him, to the house to have dinner. And I was asking him some questions. And I'll share something with you that he said that has come back to me. And I asked him about how a young man deals with his flesh and his passion. This thing about our flesh and these longings and cravings we have. And he told me some few things. But then he said, another crisis is coming to hit Jimmy Swagger. And this time, that will be it. That was before the second one that came, where he was they saw him in this nightclub or somewhere.